Welcome to the Stop Down Photography Podcast, episode 39. I'm Scott Davenport. In today's episode, let's talk about committing to the pursuit of photography. Hi everyone, thanks for joining me today. I'm glad to be back with you for another chat about photography, this shared passion of ours. And in today's podcast, let's take one more step on our never-ending journey of photography. It is the end of September 2020 as I record this. And 2020 as a whole, it has been a tough year, tough on all fronts, certainly tough creatively. If your year has been anything like mine, your time behind the camera has been a lot less, and there are reasons for that. Yet, upon reflection, for me, some of the reasons I wasn't picking up a camera were self-imposed, and that needs to change. And this past week, I made a commitment to myself, a reaffirmation to my pursuit of photography, and I want to share my thoughts and story with you. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please share it with a friend, share it on social media, with your camera club, and if you can, please leave a rating on Apple Podcasts. Fresh, current ratings really help other photographers find out about the show. 2020 has put up a lot of barriers to photography. To say that it's been a creatively challenging time for photographers is putting it mildly. Globally, we have all felt the impact of COVID-19, lockdowns or other restrictions cutting off access to favorite photo places, sometimes for several months. In my area of the world, in California, wildfires have been another barrier. Thankfully, my area has not been severely impacted. However, air quality and several locations were off limits. And some of these barriers remain in place. They're still with us today. For me, I also noticed a psychological barrier to getting back outside with the camera. The landscapes and the areas I like to shoot, as they started to open up, I wasn't taking advantage of it like I used to. For one thing, I simply got out of the habit of getting outside with the camera. And let's be brutally honest, it is much easier to stay on the couch and not haul your gear out into the wilderness for a sunset. It's much easier to stay asleep in a cozy bed versus dragging your tired bones out to location 2 hours before the sun breaks in the morning. But I also noticed another psychological weight that I was putting on myself. The longer my dry spell between photo outings was, I felt more pressure to return with good, important, meaningful captures. And I think that is a real problem. That mental hurdle was preventing me from making new work. I'd bail on going out with the camera because the weather wasn't quote-unquote right. Or I knew the day ahead was going to be busy, which in no tangible way interfered with getting up and capturing a sunrise before the rest of the day began, but I'd use that as an excuse to not go out with the camera. And so, good work, bad work, mediocre work, none of it is possible if I'm not out with the camera. And so, this past week, I made a decision, a reaffirmation really. I commit to the pursuit of photography. Straightforward, simple. I'm choosing my words carefully here. The pursuit of photography. It's not mastery of photography. And if you're listening to this podcast, I think you know there's no such thing as mastery of photography. It's never ending. There's always something we can do better, we can learn. I'm also not setting a goal of creating some number of exceptional photos by a certain date. I'm not committing to win an award in a photo contest or promise to capture one keeper image on every photo outing. I'm committing to the pursuit of photography. Now therein lies a commitment to action, though. Thoughts and promises are great, but actions make them real. And actions don't need to be huge. It could be committing to photograph a certain location, a place I've always wanted to go, or that place I haven't been in a while. It could be to try that technique I kinda sorta thought about but never really acted on. It could be as simple as promising to use your camera regularly And that's where I'm starting or restarting, committing to the pursuit of photography. It's not about creating the next great piece. It's about choosing to lead an artistic lifestyle. The focus is on the craft, growing as an artist, making art part of your life. It's not the individual work that's produced, it's about growth and improvement. Now, of course, we all want to make beautiful photos. I don't discount that. However, I think the beautiful photos reveal themselves as a byproduct by earnestly pursuing photography, practicing. The skills grow, the frames get stronger, the artistic vision evolves, and the great photos will come. I first picked up a camera because I had the desire to create something. Whether or not I produced a worthy photo was not the point. Photography is a form of self-expression, and for me, there is more to photography than just the images I produce. It's a way to see the world differently, to make friends, experience nature, appreciate things more deeply. And so yes, while the good photos will come, committing to the pursuit of photography, it's really a commitment to myself. So I made this decision, this reaffirmation, this commitment about a week before this episode is going up. So like the third week of September 2020. And I picked a day on the calendar and said, that's it. This is the day. I'm packing up the gear and I'm going out. Weather forecast doesn't matter. What's going on in the sky doesn't matter. What's the tide table doesn't matter. Whatever the forecast is, I'll choose a location that reasonably suits it. And the day I chose, the morning was quite foggy. The fog was relatively high in the sky. It wasn't like floating around ground level, interacting with foreground subjects. And it was kind of a blanket of gray across the sky, occasionally a wisp closer to ground. Doesn't matter. I'm all in. And here's what I found interesting. I'm in my car. It's really early, like 5 in the morning. I'm driving out to location, and I already felt better. I felt happier. I was reconnecting with something I like to do, and something I hadn't done in a while. I was going out with my camera. I got on location. The air was this interesting mix of cool and crisp, yet kind of moist. I mean, it was foggy after all. I'm hiking up this steep hill. The first time I've been doing that in a bunch of months. And the initial strain in my legs started fading away as the hike progressed and kind of got back into the swing of things. Then I'm setting up, I'm out there reading the scene, weighing the options, playing that game you play with Mother Nature. The questions run through my head. What will the conditions do? Will they be in my favor? What's the planet going to grant me today? What can I make of it? What can I learn from it? And I captured a set of photos. I didn't force anything that wasn't there. I didn't feel bad that the certain vision I had going into the shoot didn't materialize. I did spend time refining some of my panorama skills while on location. I framed up the panos, paying attention to both the overlap of the frames, but pre-visualizing a crop that I expect I'll apply in post. I haven't actually processed the photos yet. So I didn't punch in so far with the framing to eliminate other potential crops, but I did think about a particular composition and how I positioned the major elements in the panorama, and that was new to me. I don't recall having done that in the field. If I did, I just don't remember it. So that was a kind of a new, or at least a renewed discovery for me. So returning from this shoot, it was kind of like an epiphany, a moment of clarity. I really do need to keep pursuing photography. Get out in the field, at least weekly, ideally twice weekly. That was my prior habit. So I'm feeling really good about recommitting to the pursuit of photography. And I'm going to challenge you to do the same. Keep it simple, keep it light. It really is as straightforward as promising yourself to go use your camera, which chances are you like doing anyway. So commit to the pursuit of photography. Join with me in spirit, and you need somebody to share your work with, share it with me. You can send me a message through the contact form on stopdownpodcast.com. Share your work. I'd like to see what you're up to. A special thank you to the supporters on Patreon. It is your support that makes this podcast possible. It helps support the other things I do with photography, YouTube tutorials, and all the other free content I put out there. I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate your support, and I know you hear me say it here week in and week out. You're in my thoughts a lot more than just when I mention it on this show. If you're interested in learning more about the Patreon community, check the show notes, and there's also a support the show button on every page of Stop Down Podcast where you can learn more. And that'll wrap up this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Short one, simple message, but an important message. Commit to the pursuit of photography. If you're feeling a little lost, a little stuck creatively, make a promise to yourself. Remember what it was that made you pick up your camera in the first place and say, okay, this week I'm going to do that again. And I think you're going to feel better. I think it's going to energize you and get you moving again. And you'll remember why you started down this path of photography in the first place. If you enjoyed today's podcast, once again, please share it with a friend. Tell your camera club. Share it on social media. And if you can, please leave a rating on Apple Podcasts. And until next time, my name is Scott Davenport. Have fun.